Okay, this is a meeting of the Kingston Water Department for Tuesday, December 9th, 4 p.m. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the open session of November 25th.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. 2-0. Appointments, Board of Sewer Commissioners for a joint discussion regarding shared costs between the Water and Sewer Department. Welcome, nice to see you.
I'll just officially, we'll just reopen our meeting. The sewer commissioners meeting, they're posted for 4 o'clock with the water commissioners, so.
Okay, guys, we have noticed over the years that a fair amount of effort from this department is consumed doing billing and answering phone calls to people that are complaining about bills. And overwhelming majority of the complaints we get are on their sewer bill, because it's based on water, but they call us because we're the letterhead on the bill. So we would like maybe some help from you folks in defraying some of our costs that we've accumulated as a result of billing for water and sewer.
Are you not compensated right now for the time that the staff puts in?
No.
And get billed for that?
Nope, you do not get billed for it. Have not been billed for it since we've been doing it.
That's how all the
Okay,
departments work.
Stacy
So-
has some information.
I just
Maybe
did
helpful.
some quick numbers today just to get percentages. Their sewer accounts are 301s and 401s. The 301s are the flat rate, the 401s are based on water. And then there's a total number of water accounts for each billing cycle. So taking a total of the sewer accounts versus the water accounts, it's a 35% accounting of the sewer accounts that are billed in the last 2 quarters. And then on the shut-off program every year that we do, 52% of those shut-off accounts have sewer on. So that's a shut-off program that we do here in the office, sending out notices of delinquency, following up with the residents to get payment, and then going to remind them with another letter, and then marking it out of the street. 95% of the time, by the time we get to that point, they pay. But then if they don't, then we shut it off, and it's another trip out there. So that's what that accounting is. I wanted to get a percentage for you so that you had an idea. I don't know how the town determines shared costs between all the departments. I've asked. I have not gotten any answers. So I decided to come up with our own percentages that are pretty simple.
No, we have shared costs, both commission, pay the town a shared cost for a number of the retirement and medical and the rest of that, but there is no direct correlation of cost reimbursement between the sewer and the water, even though the billing is all done by the water department.
Yeah, I don't thought that we've already been arranged for enterprise accounts,
No, it's the town allocated costs that both departments are being billed for now is like the
Insurance.
accountants. That's specific to the individual enterprise fund, but in addition to that, we pay for the accountant's time.
Yeah.
We pay for payroll, pay for numerous, ours is upwards of
Collectors.
400,000.
Yeah.
And so included in that is not this. So this is a new conversation.
Yeah.
We're actually, we're hopefully soon posting for some additional office staff. Maybe there's a coordination there that could take some of the burden rather than finance, because it's all about financials with everybody. But if you want to put together some numbers on, what you're looking for $1,000 or you're looking for 100,000, I mean.
$1 million would work.
If you could get $1 million, I'll be right there next to you.
What we were saying is these are the kind of costs that, Stacy and Laurie are basically handling, as far as billing is concerned, on a regular basis. And we thought we'd give you the information, let you sort of digest it, and come back and see what you feel is a reasonable allocation. Then we can argue, dollars and cents. Huh? Well, obviously, we will want more than you'll want to give, but that's also understandable.
Okay.
but,
As long as we're on the same page.
yeah, and again, we realize it's been years and we haven't talked about it. We're not trying to recoup what's past, what's past is past, We're sort of saying, okay, let's look at 2026 and move forward.
There's more volume.
The numbers are what they are, and whether or not we use the existing meters or new meters, that's all sort of, need to be talked about as we go through this.
Okay,
I think another factor too, Bud mentioned the meters, it's pretty clear that the meters are under reading. We're pretty confident that that's one of a significant problem that we're having as far as our account for water, which means it's costing you money as well as costing us money. And again, if we're gonna put in new meters, you're gonna see an increase in revenue, we're gonna see an increase in revenue. And if we're paying for the meters, well, I think we'd like a little bit of help paying for the meters. So
The other problem is when we go to the meters and now the costs are gonna go up for the resident, we're gonna end up probably with more, requests for abatements and,
now when you say new meters, is this replacement of all the meters you currently have?
over time, yes, not all at once, but over time,
Yeah, a
and
program to replace.
and we've had 3 meter companies come in and talk about what their meters are capable of doing, and the difference between them and the meters we put in 20-something years ago is it's unbelievable. To the point where we regularly have an item on our meetings where people request abatements because they had a leak and they didn't know they had a leak and stuff like that. With the new meters, there is technology that will alert them that they have a leak. We don't have to be the ones that, when we're doing the billing, we say, oh, look at this bill. Last billing cycle, they used 10,000 gallons. Now they've used 600,000 gallons. So clearly there's a problem. So they would know that right away. So all of that is things that we're looking at that we have to do. We know they're going to be expensive, and we're not looking to dump all of that on you, but we'd like some help. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking.
The meters you're talking about only for us jointly.
Yeah.
On the sewer.
for.
Not the whole town, but just our customers.
Yeah, we
Well,
would,
we're replacing everything in town.
but we would
But
not ask
only
you
the
that.
ones that are
Clarify,
affected.
we're
Oh,
online
we-
at,
If you're
Well, I-
willing to help us pay for all of
I
it.
think that was the whole point of me coming up with
Yeah.
a percentage.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
that's
say,
That's fine. Yeah.
based on the handout, would it be true to say that the total sewer is 1,662, adding the 8 and the 1654 together?
Yes,
Okay. Out of the 4733 for total water.
correct.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
and it goes up by 2 in, August, September, and October. But we're not gonna argue
There's
1
slight
and 2.
differences,
I think,
yeah.
it's a percentage that
percentage
we're
is the
looking
same.
for.
so, okay, we hear you, we'll go
Yeah.
back and,
And we can't really even talk about hard numbers yet, because we don't know what's gonna cost us for meters yet. We haven't picked a meter company.
We are doing a pilot program with half a dozen new meters, so.
and I was gonna say, I mean, we've got budgets coming up like yesterday for FY 27, so I mean, is this even a conversation for that? I mean, I would think it would have to be the next fiscal cycle.
We need to look at the AOC, and we've got some agreements with them on looking forward, so that's all.
If you give us some time frame so we can see what it means.
I don't know. I think it would be difficult to look at the 2026 budget, but 2027 should be very definitely in sight. When you're doing a 2027 budget, we're doing that 2027 budget, we should have our information, and we should be able to come to some sort of an agreement, so that when we're doing those budgets, we're using the numbers that we'll be coming up with to do that.
Well, and that's it, I mean, I expense is one thing, it's like it's revenue, it's, what are we in December?
Yeah.
And to look for revenue, generating something in a month or two is something we'll look at. So, yeah, we'll go back and work with Jeannie and
And I
we'll
get-
put it on a next board meeting and
I think this is
See
kind
where
of
we're going.
opening up the topic for a discussion with us. We've got to get more, clearly got a lot more details we've got to come up with before we can even begin talking numbers. But once we get the details together, when we look at our budget, we're gonna, hopefully we'll be meeting more often than we meet now.
Mhm.
And at which point, maybe the next quarterly meeting, if we have quarterly meetings, we can have some information that we can share with you. You can then go back and look at how it impacts you.
Okay.
Okay?
And we will be looking at basically not only the cost of meter, but the installation of the meter. We will not be trying to do meter installation or replacement using in-house staff. It will be
The whole project.
the whole project, it be completely, and David, in some ways, it's advantageous to us, because whichever company we choose, they will have to do all the scheduling as well, so.
It's. We'll look at it, because I know you're looking at vendors or whatever, but I mean, it's one of those, if it's $1, okay, we certainly have that conversation.
Yeah.
If it's $500 a meter, then, but that's where, we'll look at it and get a ballpark for meter and installation,
Remember what the ballpark?
It was like, what, 350?
all
I think it was
inclusive.
350
That was
for
the
the
meter
meter.
installed.
That was a meter installed.
No, I don't think that was
No.
a meter installed.
I think
That
it was
the
that meter.
And then the installation, I think, was $90 or something. It's like 90 to 100.
So that makes more sense to me.
So we're up to 500 a meter,
Yeah.
give or take.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then figure out what percentage really involves us, I mean, it does. the meter.
But yeah, it'd be the 1662-ish.
And how long of a time frame would you anticipate doing these replacements over? 3 year, 2 year, 5 year?
What's in the ACO?
I think it's like a 3-year. ECU, I think it's 3-year.
We got some looking, yeah,
Well, nobody's got a budget that we can put all that into 1 year for starters, and I don't know that they can do that, all those meters.
Do you have a sense of where the meter problems might be? Is there any like cluster area or older places or whatever?
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna start, initially, we're gonna look at the bigger meters and see what we're gonna have them test and see how they're doing. And from there, we're gonna go to the individual meters of people's homes.
the feeling is the average meter is roughly 20 years old. Chances are a 20-year-old meter is on the end of its lifestyle. And, if it's not this year, is it next year? We need to basically look at a program that we can go to town meeting and say, it's gonna be this amount of money spread out over this number of years to replace the residential meters. And there's like 2 different varieties of the commercial meters, the medium-sized meters and then the large meters, so.
Are the commercial meters more expensive, I would
Oh,
assume?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the larger the meter, the more expensive.
So,
Multiply more
I got a
expensive.
couple points. One is, since it's a sewer water commission, and a lot of the, much if not all of the big water users are on the sewer, I would think.
I think so.
Prioritizing those bigger meters, the better expenses, and why wouldn't those commercial properties pay the whole thing? Pay for the meter?
We haven't crossed that bridge yet. and It's a discussion we're still going to have because quite frankly, we may be even looking for some contribution from homeowners too. A percentage of the cost of the meter.
Well, there is a contribution, it's called the water rates, it's called your tax rates. To suggest we're gonna now come up with another super fee on top of that, I think you've lost your combined mind if you go that route. I mean, accept the fact that the rates are gonna go up, and accept it at that, with the taxes that we're paying now, with the rates we're paying now, to suggest that we're gonna go back to the resident and say we're gonna do a special assessment so that you can pay us more in the water. I'm not quite sure that's a real strong selling point.
Well, a special assessment would go away, whereas a rate increase may or may not. But, yeah, I mean, this is good conversation. Good conversation.
And the goal here was to open up the conversation with you
And you
about
have,
what.
Prioritizing, from up with prioritizing, there's a way to prioritize them. Most of the big meters are in, you got the big Y, you got the Stop and Shop, you got them all, you got all these places that are using a lot of water. And comparatively using a lot of sewer. Getting those fixed solves our universal problem faster than those are fixed, the better. Then you're dealing with just mainly residences and a few other things. Is the high school under what? Seven.
School is on the water, but not on the sewer.
No,
Is that correct?
correct? They're not sewer, but they have their own sewage, but
Yeah.
they're talking about stuff. That's nothing.
They have town water except for the irrigation. They have their own irrigation.
That was the irrigation. I know they have wells. I wouldn't sure that.
Yeah, it's for irrigation. Now, do you want to talk about your meetings quarterly?
Absolutely.
You want to pick dates that we can look at?
Anyway,
And maybe, I don't know exactly what we should align it with. Whether we should align it with, when bills go out. Because we bill quarterly.
Yeah.
So it could be like the first meeting after we send bills out, so we can look at what the bills have done.
And I was even gonna suggest that, town allocated costs, which is what each enterprise fund gets charged for other town services, that, maybe one of your staff members, I don't want to put anybody else, can work with Jeannie, because some of the town allocated costs, I try to review them every year and ask for explanations on why we may be paying 50% of a particular budget.
Ditto.
And, okay, so maybe. that
And
could be
the
something-
answers are exactly the same,
Well,
non-existent.
no, well, there's no formula that's being used, and I have tried for years to get a formula that's being used. This may be a
So
good
glad you said that,
opportunity.
because I specifically asked for that.
There
How
isn't
are they-
one.
How are they coming up with a number without a formula?
In the past, they've asked the department head, well, how much percent of your time is spent on X? So I think that's a good opportunity to collaborate and figure out really town allocated costs. So I'm just throwing it out, making up a number. Let's say we're each paying $100,000 for the accountant. Well, if the accountant's budget is $500,000 for the year, and we're paying $200,000, there seems to be an off balance there with two departments with minimal staff paying almost half of the budget. So those are the conversations I've had with accountants in the past.
Maybe at our next joint meeting, we should invite the accountant.
Well, it's more than just the accountant, I mean, there's a whole bunch of, you know.
But wouldn't the accountant have the answers?
I'm not, she's
I don't wanna
focused on
make
other
any
things right
assumptions.
now.
Yeah.
So don't make an assumption that.
I mean, I think if we can come up with a formula that is justifiable amongst, a working team, then, we present it, and we present our findings. Present our findings and, obviously come back to the table here, but, have someone, explain to us why that approach may not work.
Don't miss your part of the power purchase even if you're missing out.
Right.
Oh,
The other point we talked about on this universal issue is after the last year and a half, we get into money that was there and it's not there now. That getting our own accountant, we have money, is a threat. But get our own accountant to work on our enterprise account. And then get the $200,000 back. Keep it where it should be, and we have it here. We have it in two big enterprise accounts. We have a $68 million capital investment. You have at least that amount in this town. And the rest of the town, if you put them together, we're bigger than that rest of the town.
Still the town.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not the town, but you have shared issue of accounting. A lot of it's right here. What we do. Just an idea to throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole part of collaboration is, maybe, because Jeannie and Dave have been spending a tremendous amount of time on assisting the accountant with balancing our funds for multiple years. Things with finding things of what whatever. Bottom line, they become very adept at our funds and our funding resources and things like that, which all goes into how much we pay other services for in the town. So to Brian's point, maybe it's not a separate accountant, but maybe it's someone who can really be able to talk about the accounts one-on-one and just resolve any issues right away, or any questions or concerns, rather than someone, whether it's us or an accountant, trying to figure out something that happened 5 years ago.
And maybe even asking somebody from the town to come to one of our joint meetings and explain what process they use to do it, and how much they're charging us, and what avenues we have to cut those costs. And like you're suggesting, perhaps maybe getting our own accountant, I don't know, but that
Well,
would be.
not necessarily, but someone adapt it within the department to be able to.
Dedicated to us in a way.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
that knows the system we have shared and be able to pay attention for the 200, that whatever the number is, pay attention to what we do collectively, and it's just your and our staff. But instead of us chasing things, which is what's been going on from our position,
And it sounds like we're both of us are assisting them in doing their job. Do we get any money back from the town?
No.
So one thing, if I could just add to this too, is that I'm fairly new in the position I'm in. So getting through these budgets is kind of a learning curve for me, but what I've noticed is when it comes time for our budgets, or at least, let's say, the town budgets, each department is asked to keep their overall increases to within a certain percentage. So let's say it's 2.5%, right? So I would think that our town allocated costs should not go up more than that 2.5%. And I saw last year our increases for town allocated costs jumped up more than 2.5%. So how can our department costs increase at a higher exponential figure than the rest of the town
Very good
budgets?
point.
They should mirror each other.
Which is why we
And
need to
not
be
get
in
polluted.
conversation with them.
They
I
should
mean,
not
if
be-
you're asking, should Stacy and Jeannie work together to hold together information that we can talk about the next time we get together? I don't see a problem with that, given, it's, within time constraint, and, I think it's a good way to move forward, and they work together regularly anyways, it's
Right.
not like, it's new people coming in that needs to be trained to begin with.
Right.
And Jean always mentions too how well she and Stacy work together, so it's very much appreciated on our.
Well, we should be working together.
Do we want to set up some dates?
I would suggest we let Jeannie and Stacy set up dates that they can work, rather than us set up dates for them.
I'll give them the month that you want.
Yeah.
To set it up.
Well, if you wanted to do, if you wanted to do billing months.
Yeah.
So the next billing month would be March. I don't know how you wanna do it, do you wanna do it on a day that you're not meeting? I don't know what time do you hold your meeting?
4:30. I don't think any of us want another meeting.
Right, so if you wanted to do it the
Do,
same day, that's what I'm
yeah,
trying to say.
Tuesday's one.
Tuesday, yeah.
So we do a joint meeting at 4 here, and then you guys can have your meeting at 4:30, or do you think that would be tight? That'd probably be tight.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or we could go to your meeting at 4:30.
yeah, then you could have already had your meeting. Or not.
In the summer, that'd be easy, because Bob Lanson's a teacher, and then we could have our meetings at 3, for example, and then we'd be able to accommodate
But
that.
we don't meet the same week though, right? Because we meet the second and fourth. You guys meet the first and third.
Yeah. Let's figure out some, so,
Maybe alternate,
yeah, let's be like March, what are the other months?
March, June. in September.
And just because we're talking budgets and money and all of that, we're gonna wanna probably squeeze one in before March.
Yeah, I would suggest that same thing. This is a kickoff to the joint meeting on this bigger agenda, which will kind of be a standard agenda, you know, kind of a bunch of similar things. To do something in January, middle of
Yeah.
January, and then set the, you know,
I'll set up what the agenda items will
yeah,
be.
and then work from there, because
That makes sense.
we're trying to do this for several months and for reasons that are, we're all busy. That hasn't come together. I know you've seen this, kind of short version of a standard agenda that you've gone out just to get copies. There's one thing I want to, before we leave, get into, because it does get back to our expansion of the sewer. So why don't we finish this discussion first?
Well, what if we all tell our respective staff when we're available for January and then coordinate if they can coordinate a date for us? Does that sound fair?
Just assume it's be a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
What-
Some Tuesdays, January. Yeah, it was on the bottom of my meeting minutes. We changed it.
Well, I need to do that.
It'd be a separate meeting anyways, right?
Yeah.
This particular first one, just get kind of going, then we can figure out the logistics.
Do you want to commit to the two Tuesdays in a row? We have our regular meeting.
That's check my availability.
At the next cycle. We meet twice in January.
It would be the 6th to the 20th.
Before, we do anything else, just on our agenda that we posted was a review of the you. And Eric Crone had emailed today, he wants to know if, the board would like to have a joint meeting with sewer, and board of selectmen next Tuesday at 6 p.m. So I think they're kind of hoping both boards will have gone over the morning together and come up with some changes or edits, etc. So,
You don't know where anyone is saying.
yes. I placed the memo in your book with the comments that Stuart had supplied.
You know, experiments.
Probably the first or
Gonna
second.
get back toward the end, well.
That's the one, this is the one Eric gave us.
Okay.
That's the original one, and then this marked up in.
That's yours, right?
That's Eric's. This is not, this is the one we put together with the comments we saw. And
That
First
should be
is
it.
the first one.
yes,
And this will be reviewed.
and
Do they have a copy of that?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have a copy of your.
This is us.
yes, and just to give a little overview, when we got the original from Eric, it had the highway department was doing things and after us and things like that. What I have is since this is basically about roads and construction and everything else, I have it switched that the highway department basically takes the lead. That we would, if there's a section in here that says, we said, get the permits, fine, you can get a permit on it. If there's emergency repairs, we have to notify highway within the next couple of hours or whatever. And I added in, if there's an emergency repair, we should be calling someone, and they mentioned that in here, call someone and get verbal approval to proceed. Followed up by an email. Just so there's no misunderstandings that whoever, you call for highway and say, hey, we got a water leak or a sewer line problem, we're gonna dig up X tonight in 5 minutes. And they said, yeah, go ahead, yeah, I'll come down, I'll be there with your supervisor, I'll supervise it with you, whatever the procedure is, those are the real details. But I think whatever we do independently is, we just make sure that there's checks and balances, that if someone gives you a verbal approval, they follow it up with an email. I talked to so-and-so last night and gave them the go-ahead, just so nothing falls through the cracks.
If it's an emergency, it's an emergency. We shouldn't be waiting for the highway superintendent or someone in the highway department to say it's okay to repair an emergency. It's notifying it's gonna happen, it's notifying police it's gonna happen, notifying fire department it's gonna
Yeah, I
happen, and it happens. Not looking for permission.
I'm not, I don't disagree.
Well, the way you said it, it was sort of, we're gonna notify them and then they're gonna give, we're gonna notify them, we've got an emergency, we're gonna dig it.
It's the same word, notify. Well,
Yeah.
so,
We use the word notify as opposed to
Notify.
ask permission.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't disagree. I mean,
Oh,
what has to be
okay,
done
the
has
way
to be
you,
done.
you were sort of, the way I was hearing what you were saying is, we're gonna notify them that we've got an emergency and we need your approval to fix it.
No, I did say they need to follow up the next day and acknowledge that they had
That
a
they heard,
conversation.
that they got a notification from us and they're acknowledging it.
And we need to follow up the next day with the email to them as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do a phone call and expect an email back. You want an email back, send an email.
Well, and that's where I have them taking some of the initiative, like it says in here, we're to inspect manhole covers every 2 years and everything like that. Well, I think the highway department should take the lead on that. The manhole covers, if you're down a road and you see something that needs to be fixed, water and sewer, that's not their expertise.
I'll argue differently from that.
Okay.
Not here tonight.
Okay, we'll meet in the parking lot afterwards. But I'm just saying that anything road related, they're talking about quarterly meetings, great. Have the highway department set up the meetings and in the MOU says staff agrees to attend. It's their meeting. If there's things every, what else do they have? So I reworded it that there was checks and balances, sign-offs, that when road construction is done, just like today, you get a permit, if it's scheduled construction, you get the permit, everybody signs off it at the end, and to close the loop, the highway department signs off and says the work is acceptable. So on the day that we finish, the work's acceptable, not 6 months down the line, oh, you didn't do this right. No, it needs to happen while the contractor's there, preferably while the work is going on, the highway department will walk by and check it out.
Well,
We
why-
don't get any concerns at that time,
Why is it it's the highway department, it's the judge on everything?
because they own the road. Well, that was taught. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand why, who decided, is it the highway superintendent, is it the foreman, why is it, if we do a repair, and why can't we be the judge of our own work and say that it's acceptable?
I would say that the pipe in the street, but I mean, obviously it's a conversation, but finished paving and all of that, I mean, I'd rather have the highway sign off on it, and then there's no issues down the line. That's my approach.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen some of the repairs the highway's done, I've seen them fill potholes and, it's full of water, and they just throw a scoop of asphalt in it, well, the correct way to do would be to clean it out, blow it out, dry it out, sweep it out, and then put your asphalt in it, but when you go down, next day, it's blown out all over the road, so
Well, and the good thing is they own that.
yeah.
You're right.
I mean, if they sign off on it, if something happens in 6 months, not to say we're not gonna be responsive, but still,
We're getting back to what Bud was saying, when I look at the highway department shall,
yeah.
and number 4 says, highway will provide water and wastewater verbal approval.
Okay,
I wanna take that word approval out, because I don't think, if they say, no, we don't approve, so we just let the water run up in the road, or the sewer run down the street.
okay. Verbal notification,
Verbal notification.
okay. And I emphasize highway a lot because I don't think it's our superintendent's responsibility to know the highway department's standards on roads and to keep up with them.
Yeah, so they seem to be the driver in the town as far as whether they accept the roads for paving and all that, so I would prefer to get some contact from the highway department saying, hey, these manholes here aren't up to the standards, then we're kind of my judgment on whether the manhole's fine. I'm not plowing the street, so I kind of feel like all my manholes are fine. But obviously, Sean's been really, forthcoming with some manhole issues we've had, some of our manholes, and he's given me time to repair them, and he's been really good working with as far as that goes, but to have some formal document kind of just make sure the communication's there.
And if everybody's in doubt what their responsibility is, you have a document you can say, okay. Right. And how to carry out the responsibility, whether it's notification or approval.
Now, when they're talking about a permit, are they talking about like plans?
Yeah, well, it sounds like based on what was submitted, the regular road opening permits, but then it sounds like after an emergency repair, they want a permit. It says in case of an emergency, in case of emergency work, notify the highway police by department immediately by phone, followed by written permit submission within 48 hours.
What number is it?
For theirs, it was originally number 3.
Or are they gonna come up with some type of permit for?
I'm worried about the concept of permit because the permit sounds to me like they can say no. Well, I don't want to give the street department the right to say no to anything you or I need to do to keep our system working the way it's supposed to work. And we get along fine with the street department now, but 20 years from now, 50 years from now, there may be people that have, duking it out on the street every time there's an issue, and we need to make sure this is clear.
I mean, I can understand permit work for planned work,
Planned work.
like something like the Main Street project,
Exactly.
but
You have an
for
emergency
an
repair.
emergency repair to do a permit after the fact.
It'd be like a notification more than anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, more than
again,
permit.
back to the notification.
And maybe it's changed from rather than permit, emergency completion or notification or.
Yeah, just a
Work
noti-
notification.
Yeah. Excavation
Emergency
would-
repairs will override our process. Initial permit, right?
Okay, so we know that's a discussion point, so we can work on something for that. Meet next Tuesday with them, then that could be part of the conversation. And emergencies, maybe it's just a notification. And find out maybe from, at that meeting, what specifically they mean by that. I can get one.
But just wrong choice of words.
Yeah.
Like a
Exactly.
Emergency repairs will supersede all the approval process.
Do they have any, I didn't notice anything either as far as snow events for you guys, if they have reciprocity, do they think on that?
We've always plowed for them without any issues, so all my guys have their regular routes, and that's always just been a,
They pretty much every snow.
yeah, all our trucks that have plows are not plowing, we're still in that group.
Do they do street routes, but just not the stations and the operating stuff?
So we
street
they have a street route.
Okay.
The street routes, and then if it's an intense storm, they're not gonna be hitting the storm, they're gonna hit the roads, but if you're getting 6 inches of snow, if you get a foot of snow halfway through the storm, they'll break off. just kind of open everything up once.
Okay.
Back to the roof, and then once the storm's over, we go plow everything we have, shovel everything else, and it freezes that night. The next day, it's gets dug out. So before they go home, they test to take care of everything we do here. Because they're out, sometimes frustrating, you've been out for 14, 18, 20 hours, it's like, you get 2 hours worth of work, but, we split it up, one guy goes to the station, other takes the other, splits it up.
And if there's an emergency, obviously, we'll pull the crew from plowing snow to take care of the emergency.
Yeah.
And then go back, assuming that there's still a snow emergency, go back to plowing snow again.
You tend to have more emergencies in the storm.
It's always been that way with the farm.
Yeah, I know years ago, we had a hydrant that was hit by Sunny Hill Road. Busted right off, it was crashing down Main Street. You gotta stop plowing. The highway figures it out. There's never been an issue. We break off and they'll say, hey, I gotta take off my route for an hour, because I need to go open stuff up. If you don't keep up with it, you're not gonna get in there.
Especially if it get ices up.
Or if it's heavy wet snow, you can only push it so far.
Well, the water department's been around a lot longer than the sewer commission, the sewer department, right, so. We'll probably start at the same spot, same 5 guys, did everything in the town.
And again, the town's becoming more and more dependent on us and, to some degree, the sewer department, because they just can't get the, private, plow. Both the costs and insurance and, what you need to do to be able to be a certified snowplow operator in town of Kingston or any town, or Commonwealth, Massachusetts for a lot now.
That'll just stay in there for us and a relevant shell.
Yeah.
The other thing I changed significantly was violations. If they had put any employee in violation, this MOU shall be subject to disciplinary action as detailed in the wage and personnel bylaw or collective bargaining agreement, whichever applicable.
Now it says May.
I changed it to any employee in violation of this MOU will be reviewed by the town administrator and the appropriate commission, and a determination will be made whether or not the employee may be subject to
Yeah,
disciplinary
that's reasonable.
action as detailed in the law.
That's reasonable.
Right. Because then you can get really into the details on that, what's a violation, so, maybe.
To the whole ball of wax with the union.
Right.
You got union employees. The guys who have to go to work are all ATU union members, so.
So my take on this is, after we meet with them, assuming they were in agreement with the changes that we're asking them to make, that we'll be able to sign it that night.
I will shortly thereafter. I'd want to make sure whatever changes are actually documented and
That's written into the
put in
change.
writing, and not agreed upon verbally.
So I can update this and you can get a new copy. Jean can send you a new copy, and everybody can decide if you want any tweaks before next Tuesday.
Should we send it on to Eric too?
I think,
Send the change on to Eric so that
I think
we.
he asked for it.
Yeah, because when we
Once the
sit
board
down
agrees-
together, if we all have the information to start with, we
Oh,
don't have
yeah.
to go into
he's actually seen our version.
okay, so
He came to our last meeting, I think it was.
Yeah.
we okay with it?
He
He came
seemed-
here to go.
He wasn't surprised by some of them.
Yeah, I think you presented your amendments.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, yeah, just look at the emergency notification piece and think about it.
So under highway department shall,
Yeah,
is that review and approve instead of permit application work? Or how would you anticipate changing that verbiage in there instead of
What number is it?
number 1? So you mentioned something, you don't really want their approval to do the work. How would you have a suggestion how to kind
I
of
think,
change the verbiage on that?
I think one would be review and approve plan.
Yeah.
Plan work, like we did the Main
Yeah.
Street job, that
Well,
was,
It says planned work though. It says submit a roadwork excavation permit application to the highway department for all planned work. However, it goes back down to this permit application mentioning emergencies. And that's where I think the confusion is. If it's an emergency, you shouldn't have to go to the process of a permit,
No,
even if
Emergencies
it's after
happen
the
at
case.
all hours of the night. and that's-
Emergency happens, you fix the emergency and then notify them. But you
Is
could,
that what you were referring to, Dave? I didn't think so.
Well, no, that's good, it's just, that whole issue of basically having almost like a permission to do the work, to Bob's point is, how do we change this document to more accurately?
I think the notification of emergency work
And I think we actually
is,
need
is,
to,
is, is in lieu of the permit. It would be a notification for emergency unexpected work.
all things need a separate subgroup of emergency work versus permitted planned work. So emergency work is emergency, We'll let you know we're there, but we're digging the hole already.
right, if
When
you wanna come out and look,
Yeah.
feel free.
Wouldn't it make sense to have to the point of emergency, the first group that's gonna, in this whole MOU, that's gonna know about emergency besides us, whichever, is the police. Let the police be the ones, it's emergency, they're gonna be setting up, if we need a detail, whatever you need, they're gonna get it. Let them be that would make sense to me to be the link to everybody else, which would be the fire, just the fire or the,
Yeah, but sometimes we don't need things.
but either way, I'm just
Sometimes they
thinking,
don't show up,
they don't show up.
if
Isn't
they're
it?
jammed up, and don't have
Yeah, I think-
personnel.
they got stuff going on too,
Yeah.
Well, maybe we
We-
talk that through with them a little bit, like, what's their intent? What's the
The
real?
first responder is either the water department, sewer department, or highway department, for whatever emergency is going on. You kind of dictate your own emergency at that point.
I'll try to write something and we'll make sure that that's.
And
focus.
again, it's a process we're trying to work through. It doesn't have to be finalized and perfect, tomorrow or next Tuesday. I mean, it's nice to be able to say, hey, I signed this in 2025. Who really cares? Let's make the document what we want it to be, whether it's 2025 or 2026. What we want, what we're trying to accomplish is a working document, not a date specific.
Well, maybe put it in, on emergency situations, notification be made as timely as possible.
Yeah, situation.
Yeah,
You gotta deal with your emergency.
Yeah. I mean, you notify fire and police, we'll get to the highway department, but they don't really care because they're not there unless we need their trucks or their equipment to help us.
yeah, they're not gonna come out and look at a patch at 2 o'clock in the morning, because it's gonna be half-assed anyways, because you with limited resources, so. We always deal with it the next day, whether it's a road plate, and then the next day when you can get resources, hard asphalt or additional fill with appropriate compaction. It's not unusual for us to go back, dig it out, backfill it appropriately in daylight hours. And do what you need to do. Yeah, and I think that our first call is usually to dig safe to get that ball rolling, additional staff to get that in, and then worry about notifying police and fire and highway after this. It's kind of prioritizing what we need in here for,
But it won't dictate that, you gotta do that on them almost before you get the police.
the first call.
Yeah.
When we finally get a dig, it's gonna be dig safe, because you gotta get that ball
Yeah.
rolling. They can be in Bedford and have it come up from the Bedford to here. The police are gonna, oh, okay, you're taking that, you need details. Fire department, say, why'd you wake me up? I was gonna say, you need a truck.
We'll leave the keys in.
So,
Need to assault that leak.
Yeah,
so generally, this seems okay for
Yeah.
first pass with them?
Yeah.
I'll clean it up based on what
That'd
you
be
said. And then, we'll have a
You
draft for Tuesday.
you can get it to Stacy, so she can leave copies on the table, we can check it out. Go back over it, and if we get any, hides the dotted piece of price.
We are on the second.
We will be. Because, when I last checked, we didn't have the time, but 6 says it's 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock next Tuesday. Select.
What's that for? Just one last thing to put on your agenda. Sewer commission's been developing their final sewer function plan that meets the, now that we have the 2 capacity tanks up and running, the leaching field's done. and We're working with CDM, our engineer. This plan, like, sure, this is a small version. But basically, majority of our works to assist deal with the wells, all South Street location. That complex was a significant part of our water supply. And back when we did the original facility plan, we put that pump station on 106. Connect that descent. CDM's going to be doing an analysis of the needs analysis with that. This plan shows we intend to go from that pump station up South Street, hook around to Millgate, all the way around to Elm Street, come back down to here. And that's the priority of everything we're doing. Everything else is a few other streets that were missed because of capacity that we didn't have at the time. That the yellow area is an area that's come up as a radar problem with septic system failures, and any other areas you think that you know about. We're working with the Board of Health, and we'll be having joint meetings with everybody. We have the money, we believe, already appropriated to do the design, 30% design. Our goal, because of the urgency of doing this work, is to be under construction the summer of 27. We're going to have our design, 30% design done next year. Be on the priority list, move forward with the SRF funding, to be able to go to the town meeting to get that appropriated May of the town meeting, annual town meeting of 27, if not sooner.
I got a question, and I raised it before. You told me never to ask it. I'm gonna ask it again. Will somebody tell me the reason that we were leaving out Main Street from Evergreen Street to Summer Street? It's a Main Street that directly is above the Jones River, and every single one of the roughly 100 homes that are off of Main Street or one of the side streets is basically dumping their sewage into the Jones River. To say that we need to go up Indian Pond Road for whatever reason and get that number of that amount of sewage, when in fact you could double or triple that amount by doing that 1 mile from Summer Street to Evergreen Street, or potentially going further up Pembroke Street to say the tracks at least, and pick up a tremendous amount of sewage that is basically running down the hill into the river and into the bed. And to tell me that the political ramifications of not doing that when we did the initial sewer in town makes absolutely no sense. And to suggest that Indian Pond Road is a good place to go makes no sense at all.
Well, the answer for this section around here is the wells. Right?
That's a crock. You know, the wells, what's happening to the Jones River and, you know, Kingston Bay by what's coming down the Jones River is as critical and as important as South Street.
The basis for the South Street wells is it's a public drinking water supply. And in 20 years since we put that sewer in, the results of the well testing is shown going from about 0 nitrate up to about 3 now. It's not going to go down if we don't take care of those problems. So that's why the priority.
It's fine, but you know,
So
let's talk about the real world. Why aren't we doing Main Street?
well,
You told me not to ask before, so I didn't, and I'll ask it again. I'll make it part of the record. Main Street absolutely should be part of the
Well,
sewer system more than any of the other green areas you're showing.
the answer to that question, I think, to your point, is that we have CDM and the Board of Health look at the assessment of failed septic systems on Main Street in that section. and determine where those problems lie. The priorities that were assessed before are what we're showing you. That's what was on this list. And then adding to this is the TMDL study, the total maximum daily load study that was just done by the Commonwealth, which also says these are the priority areas in terms of nitrogen and the effect on Kingston Bay. So there is a lot of basis for what we're doing here. And more to the point is that we only have limited capacity. And I've told these guys, don't hit them. We're not done. We need 2 more tanks to finish this to really get to the bottom of what the nitrogen issue is in Kingston Bay. Not to mention, Duxbury has a bigger problem, but we have definitely need for capacity for additional area. But that's really what's driving this bus. We only have so much capacity, and the priorities are drinking water supply and the nitrogen loading that's maximized into the bay, as opposed to an area that's not having that. There's no documentation for that. But to your point, Bud, I think there is an area from the 3 corners out coming down towards the church from Elm Street this way, where a lot of the houses do go down to the river. We need to look at that more carefully because they are down there, and there's a clay layer that's in that area. And I think that's probably something that ought to be looked at more carefully. Whether it's the entire length of Main Street, I
The
don't know.
town's talking about rebuilding or doing something with Main Street between Evergreen Street and Summer Street because of the additional traffic and the speed. If the town is gonna spend dollars to rebuild Main Street in whatever format it is, to think that we're gonna do it and then go in and put in sewer later,
If
that
happens-
doesn't make any sense.
I agree with it. If that happens.
Yeah, we
put
haven't
sewer
had
in.
that conversation with anybody yet. I don't
Well,
know.
of course they have.
Well,
The selectmen have been working on it. The
Okay.
planning board's been working on it, and I raised it at the meeting that they had at town hall, and almost got thrown out by a couple of the residents on Main Street because they didn't want the additional cost and the additional responsibility.
well, when it becomes more than a thought in somebody's mind, then we look at it like any other
I think
project.
maybe you ought to have CDM look at where the planning department is and where the selectmen have supported that very.
That's why we have
Right.
sewer going from North Plymouth down almost Duxbury line.
I understand that, but we left out Main Street, in the
Okay, we'll
initial
look at it.
2000.
But we'll look at it. If it warrants to be more important and more valuable to the environment than the areas around the wells, then we will look at it.
The intent though of what we're gonna do
It's a
here,
conversation.
the water supply issue was paramount back then. But it wasn't done because there wasn't the actual problem. The problem now has been documented over 20 years of analyzing the water quality. So here we are trying to just get the team, if you will, and we're gonna be dealing with, not just you, obviously. Board of Health's be involved, we're gonna have Jonesville Watershed Association involved, because they're driving the bus to more of this as well. Planning board, talk to Valerie, we're gonna have everybody who's gonna have a say in this, to your point, coming up with, where's the priorities? These are the priorities that were in the original facility plan, that's where we're sticking with that plan. But again, this area in yellow was not necessarily on that list, and now it's become a problem, because we starting to find, after 20 years, we're starting to see Grays Beach being contaminated again. So, again, we'll work with Board of Health, we're gonna work with you closely, we want to have a team of, everybody's on the same direction, and that's it. So we'll be talking about this more as we go. All right.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Also,
During the sewer commission's meeting,
We'll see you Tuesday, selectmen.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
thank you for that.
The big rest blind.
Do you need a new artwork for the house?
There we go, one more, did you?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go and get out of here. Okay, Kristen, you still there? Good.
Yeah.
You're
I
up.
am. Yes, so wanted to give you an update on the new well project. Kleinfelder provided us with an updated schedule. Not sure if you have that. We talked at the last meeting where things are in comparison to the schedule that they provided with their proposal. And are essentially tracking on schedule at this point. There were some, there's been a little bit of delay with having to change the test well location a little bit, but DEP didn't take the full time that they were allotted for review of the original site plan application. So that helped offset the slight delay that we've had with moving the well location, which I also want to talk about. The one good side about having to adjust the test well location so that there's a fully compliant zone 1 that's, fully owned by the town is the preliminary test well, that small 2-inch diameter test well that was put in, indicates that more flow would be available at this new site than at the prior test well location that was installed in 2018 that we were considering. So that's good news. We have a decision to make, though. So the test well indicates that it could be a well that would produce up to 1,000 gallons per minute. Now, the original test well that we're looking at, Kleinfelder was estimating that just under 700 gallons per minute. So it went into DEP with a request for, it was around 680 gallons per minute. DEP has stated that they are not going to just hold you to that 680 gallons per minute if it can be demonstrated that this new test well location can produce more than that. Now, there's a screen size issue that to get the full 1,000 gallons per minute, the test well needs to be pumped at 500 gallons per minute. They basically, it's a 8-inch diameter test well that we want to put in as the next step. That well, they want to try to pump that well at half the flow rate of the production well flow rate. So this 8-inch diameter test well, to achieve 1,000 gallons per minute in the production well, needs to be pumped at 500 gallons a minute. Now, to get that 500 gallons per minute requires a screen with a 50 slot size. Mar Services does not have one of those on hand. They have a 30 slot screen, but that would limit the pump test to about 425 gallons per minute. And then again, you could only go in for a production well that would be basically double that. Now, the 50 slot screen can be obtained from Johnson Screens. They do take a company-wide break around the holidays. So they wouldn't be able to provide that screen until sometime in January, possibly. So basically, there's be a delay in the schedule to get that. The 30 slot screen, since Mars Services has that on hand, they could install that this month. But for the sake of 4 to 6 weeks, being able to get an additional 200 gallons per minute potentially, it seems worth it to me.
Absolutely.
There's fewer opportunities for new wells in the town. So really wanted to maximize.
Especially when we're just building it now.
Right. Yeah.
I agree too.
Great. Yeah, and the water treatment plant, the Trackle Pond water treatment plant, we designed that with the intention that an additional source of up to 1,000 gallons per minute could go to the treatment plant. So the treatment plant can handle it, and certainly would be fantastic to get 1,000 gallon per minute well. Those don't come along all the time. So what initially seemed like an unfortunate problem with having to change the location of the test well has really worked out in favor with getting additional pumping capacity. Plus, and we talked at the last meeting that Chris grabbed some samples from the test well for iron and manganese, and at least during the short pump test, those results were low. As you know, that once you start pumping the well, those iron and manganese levels can go up, but it's certainly a good place to start with them being low. It's the best that you can hope for. So we were just looking for Chris and I, the board's decision, and it sounds like you are unanimous to ask Kleinfelder to get the 50 slot screen. And again, the schedule, they provided a comparison for the original schedule, the schedule with the 30 slot screen and the 50 slot screen. And again, basically, the 30 slot screen keeps it probably about a week at most ahead of the original schedule. And then the 50 slot screen has them about it's probably more like 4 to 6 weeks. They're showing 4 weeks on their schedule, but 4 to 6 weeks behind the original schedule. So not too much time. Sorry?
Is there any way to make up any of that time, for example?
Possibly, yeah. If there's DEP review times, they've been accommodating with trying to expedite that. So as long as we can, show good faith with working with them on other aspects, they might be agreeable to expediting some of those reviewed periods to help offset that time.
Even if we have to lose the 4 to 6 weeks and don't want to do that, the long range goal of getting 1,000 gallon a minute pump at the new well site is absolutely beneficial to the town. So it's a motion that's necessary to increase the size of the screen and the pump capacity. Even with the delay, I'll make that motion.
Before you do that, is there a cost associated with that, Kristen?
They did not provide a cost difference for that screen. I wouldn't think so. It's just, it's the same size, dimension wise, the same size. It's just how the screen.
I was gonna make them take a vote if it was a financial thing, but they can take a vote anyway.
Yeah, we'll take a vote just.
Okay. They haven't presented us with a cost difference, so you could do a vote based on, no cost difference, and we'll just, tell them that.
Well, Bud moved it, I'll second it. Aye. Bob?
Is he still there?
I'll go aye too.
Okay.
And then related to the well work and getting the driller in there, Chris and the guys have been working to help make the site more accessible for their rig. They expressed some concerns. Where they're trying to get to now, it's steep. So they needed Chris to do some regrading so that the rig could get in where it needs to be. And I'll let Chris fill you in on what he's done out there with that.
Yeah, so I met with Ryder. He's from Mar. Stated the hill rig is a significant length. Quite a few trees that he eliminated to be able to make the training radiuses in there. So we worked out there with the guys to do that, open that up. And I think we're complete now. Plans to meet with Ryder tomorrow to see if it meets the criteria that he needs to the truck there. So it should be good now.
Can you grade it with the other machine?
Yeah. Maybe we'll do that. Cool.
Unless it stays close for a lot longer.
Inch and a half of frost already. So
Yeah. Supposed to warm up overnight.
So
No,
were they
about
up
free.
today
What,
or
the,
no?
the
No,
20?
I spoke to,
We'll bump up to 20.
McKenna today, and that Ryder was hoping to get out tomorrow to do a site visit. Mar had some delays at the last site, so they're not gonna be up until probably next week. So once Ryder comes out, give the site improvements his blessing. And,
Okay, so we're pretty much on schedule. We'll hit that bump in the road with the screen, but
But I mean, they said they don't wanna start drilling until they have that 50 slots screen, correct, Kristen?
Yeah, they said they want to wait until they actually get the 50 slot screen, in their hands before they drill the 8-inch well. So there's a little more time, Chris, if there's some other work that you guys have to do to try to fit that in. There might be a warm up where things aren't quite as cold.
Yeah, can they do that in the middle of winter?
Yep. Yeah, they can still do the drilling.
Slippery slope downhill.
Yeah, the slope. But yeah, if there's some frost in the ground, they can drill right through that.
you good?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah, we are still waiting for DEP to release the SRF intended use plan. That should come out any day. We just hope that those get done in December, but sometimes they don't publish them until January. So we'll know soon if the project made the list for that.
Okay, good, thanks.
And that's it.
Thanks, Kristen.
Chris?
So I've been in touch with town council in regards to the ACO that has been pushed back into the DEP meetings, waiting their council review on the amendments that town council wants to see done to that. So I checked back in with town council. We're kind of like in safe harbor right now, so DEP is going back to us. No timeline on that. It's just been kind of bogged down with them, the holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas rapidly approaching. We'll be there. As we discussed, it's quite a bit of work out at the new well site. Guys work diligently out there. Work hard too, so they all did a great job. We get things ready for the winter. Just making sure that anything that we did over the summer are in good shape for the winter, the plowing and stuff. So getting ready for the winter plow routes.
So we don't have to use them much.
That's the hope. The fourth quarter samples have been collected and submitted to the lab for analysis. Got a few applicants interested for the job, some qualified. See what else?
Some are qualified,
are not.
no, any qualified.
No, they have wastewater, everybody with wastewater licenses.
We don't want to do a wastewater anymore. I guess.
The wrong license though. License renewals have been pretty much completed by all the guys and submitted for the end of the year. One employee has to take one more class, but most of them use them. So, again, been encouraged to renew his full status of the eligible employees. Work with them to get that done.
Okay, all set? Okay, new business, we have some requests for abatements.
Yep, there's the abatement request for 13 Orchard Lane. We were leaking right there. Previously mentioned in that packet. Copy of the bill, copy of the upcoming bill they received. About $10,000, 10,000 gallons last year.
I entertain a motion to reduce the rate to
I
the
just,
lowest.
I don't mean to interrupt,
Go
but
ahead.
this is on the new business for 13 Old Orchard. I'm just looking at this letterhead here, this is 9 Old Orchard.
Yeah, but it's referencing 13 Old Orchard. If you look at the letter that's attached to it.
All right. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Making a motion.
I'm moving that we reduce the rate to the lowest rate this one time.
Seconded.
Aye.
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 Thank you. And then there's a second one for the Hilltop Club.
Make the same motion, it would be for the lowest rate for all of the water.
Okay,
I'll second that.
and that's also one time.
Yep. And I think we need to ask,
Bob, did you vote on that one too? Hilltop?
Aye as well, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Just as
Oh,
a,
future discussion maybe?
Yeah.
On the process?
I
for this?
was gonna make a motion that we need to take a look at, how we deal with abatements. I think that they seem to be coming in more and more frequently. And, there are reasons for abatements and there are reasons that, maybe we should be denying them, but I think we need to look at it without, anything on the table at the
I
time.
agree. And that way we can come up with a policy that is then applicable from that point on.
And
Yeah, I agree.
it doesn't have to be done overnight. It's something that we can look at.
We can think about it
Yeah.
now and talk about it at sometime in the near future.
The only other thing that I have is,
Water liens?
need to approve the water liens. Here's the total, there's the whole report. Do you wanna go through that?
A lot of trees.
Yeah.
You wanna read it page by page?
No.
It's just, if you wanna make a motion, you can just read that line to accept the liens for.
I move we accept the liens water bills for FY 25 and prior to a total of $80,598.32.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. I want to leave this on the table for Bob to sign it tomorrow.
Sure, he wants to
Okay,
stop.
I'll sign it. I think something like this, we should all have the
Yeah.
signatures on.
And then the only other thing was the water quality certificate that we discussed and granted at the last meeting. So if you could sign on the back of that, and then I'll notarize it. And I can get that over to the developer.
I'll leave this here for Bob. Bob,
Yeah.
if you come by tomorrow and sign the
On tonight.
or tonight, you're gonna keep.
Yeah, I'll do it on the way home.
Leave it on the table.
Two things.
Two
Yep,
things to
all
sign.
right. Will do.
Thanks, Bob. Motion to adjourn in order, Stacy?
Yeah, I think that was everything.
Okay, will you move it to adjourn?
I am.
Second? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.